So Mel is off working on the truck, and at some point in time, Charlotte will go up to each of you and say, I'd like to speak to you guys. We can do it around the campfire. I'm sure Lucian is cooking something.
Darn straight I am.
Sure. Around the campfire.
Zach will raise an eyebrow and say, is it urgent? Does it involve our evaluation?
We have time, don't we? Why does it need to be urgent?
I wouldn't necessarily call it urgent, but I would definitely say it involves your evaluation, yes.
So be it then. I mean, that's the whole point of this whole shindig, right?
I suppose I was under the impression that we were also supposed to save the children. Am I wrong?
Are we not saving the children now?
Of course we're saving the children, Zach says, but...
Those things aren't mutually exclusive, I say, something sticking out of my mouth. Oh, delicious.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a zero-sum thing. It's not one or the other, right? Yeah. But our objective wasn't to save children. Our objective was to eliminate Maneater. Zach says with a lower voice. That's not to say we can't do some good along the way.
Well, in any case, she says as everyone gathers around the fire, I feel as an instructor it is my responsibility to evaluate not only your skills, but also your reasons. I want to ask each of you, why do you want to be a Corsair?
Now is the time to ask such things? Evelyn, is looking up, raising an eyebrow. I mean, I don't want to question, you, but, don't...
It seems you already have.
Evelyn, frowns and looks over at Dom. I hope you're feeling better. She kind of mutters and looks back at the teacher. I mean, it's a time-sensitive situation we have.
I've known instructors to actually ask this question in the middle of a fight. I at least waited until one was done.
Evelyn, lowers her head in shame and shuts up.
Zach is furrowing his brow, thinking over that answer. But he doesn't say anything. He doesn't make Evelyn's mistake and question the evaluator.
Well, no time like the present. I look up from the stew I'm making. Cor, spitting the spoon in his hand, says, well, in that case, I'll go first. I stare over at Oak. In asking Oak, why did you become a Corsair? I'm really curious about you in particular.
Zach gives a snort.
I've done this for research.
Wow, research. You're that research.
And funding.
Funding?
Understandable.
He stares off directly into the fire. The embers flicker with his eyes.
Zach will kind of uncomfortably clear his throat and then, doing his almost favorite hobby at this point, which is correcting Lucian Core, and say, I think she wants to ask us these questions, and in private.
I stare over at Miss Charlotte, expecting an answer.
Charlotte shakes her head. She says, you're going to be working as a team now. I think it would be just for everyone to hear your responses.
I grin widely.
Foiled again!
Jack looks up at Charlotte and just says simply, this wasn't my idea. This was his. And he's going to tilt his head over to Zach. But I am here to protect him. He is family. And I will always protect my family.
Noble reasons, to be sure, but you don't have any reasons that are your own to be a Corsair?
He'll just simply shrug.
She'll nod, her face completely impassive.
Zach notices that they're clearly doing some sort of clockwise pattern around there, and considering his brother just and when he said and when Jack said he was there to protect him, you can kind of see Zach kind of squirm uncomfortably. But when it is clearly after a few moments of silence and it's his point, he kind of takes a turn to kind of look everyone in the eye, and he says, "The answer's simple. We were meant to be Corsairs. Jack is humble and protective and loyal and the best goddamn brother any person could have. But we grew up together. We grew up in the wilderness together. And every single skill that's required from a Corsair, we have it. And we have it in spades. When fate brought us to realizing about this program, we accepted it. We fit like a glove. It was meant to be. And we're going to succeed."
I don't understand how self-assured you are. Why will you succeed?
Because. He pauses for a moment and he says, "Don't want to get all philosophical here. But some people in life don't understand what their purpose is, where they're supposed to fit into this big universe. But based on our past experience, Jack and I, everything that we've learned up to this point, it's clear as can be, that this was meant to be. So that's why I'm so sure. I don't know, some people call it fate or destiny or whatever. I just call it a perfect match. So that's why I'm confident. Because, frankly, and this is going to sound cocky as hell, but I don't care, Corsairs were meant for people like me and Jack."
So you believe in predestination?
In a sense, in a kind of general way, I guess.
Then how do you believe that this mission is going to go? You assume that we will save the lives of these children, if you believe that you're a match for Corsairs.
Nothing is a guarantee. I can't figure out whether I'm going to live or die. But I do know that we're here, and we have a plan, and we'll do our damnedest. You gotta stay optimistic. Every time you get that doubt inside your head, you'll just sabotage yourself.
I see. So by your own logic, you could pass this test, become a Corsair, yet die in the process, and your predestination would be fulfilled. I see. I turn to the fire and start musing.
Zach kind of shakes his head. He goes, "No, that makes no sense at all, but I've talked enough."
I look Zach in the eyes and kind of shrug. Like,
Charlotte kind of quietly says, "I believe living is one of the prerequisites of passing."
I gesture in front of Dom before he can speak up, trying to stop the inevitable retort before it happens.
I close my mouth.
Oak's eyes then shift to Evelyn.
As do mine.
Yeah, everybody's staring.
As to
That's
Jack's.
in mine.
Evelyn is staring at the fire as she feels the gazes turn at her. She visibly starts to sweat and grows a little bit paler. She glances up. "Oh, is it my turn already?"
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. She stops herself and looks over at Charlotte, kind of giving a sort of knowing look, and then glances around at the others. I grew up, around the Corsairs, and I am just interested in learning more about how it all works. You know, knowledge and stuff.
Knowledge is good, yes.
Yeah.
That is an amazing amount of effort to go through simply to learn how something works.
Well, I grew up around the Corsairs, and maybe joining the Corsairs, oddly enough, provided a small amount of freedom that I didn't previously have, and I suppose that's a selfish reason. But she kind of dwindles off and looks back at the fire, like not making any eye contact with anyone.
Man, if that's a selfish reason, they're gonna hate my story. I whisper over to Dom.
Mine as well, Cor.
Oak will speak up. It seems like you and I have similar intents.
Evelyn looks up at Oak. She feels a kindred spirit between the two.
Charlotte, surprisingly, in a gentler voice, says, "Being selfish is often considered bad, but in and of itself is never a bad thing. Most of us do things for selfish reasons. It shouldn't be something to be ashamed of."
Oak's eyes gazes towards her as she speaks.
Evelyn follows
And
suit.
then
She continues, "It only becomes a problem when your selfish desires hurt those around you."
Indeed.
pain is a cycle of life. It is bound to happen as his eyes shift back to the fire.
I turn to Cor.
Yeah, I should probably go first to make this make any sense. I clear my throat. Where do I start? Let's go with the simplified version. I put up both of my hands, letting the spoon fall to the ground. Let's just say I have some experience, some talents. Let's go with talents. That I hadn't been putting to use, and my dreams of becoming a world-class chef kinda fell through a little bit, so I figure the Corsairs could use my talents while I picked myself up and got myself back on my feet. I look back over at Dom. Do I need to talk about the Mafia?
I intended to. Should I
no.
not?
I kind of put a hand to my face. Let's just say, after some things happened, I was at a bad point in my life, kind of working a dead-end job, and I may have gotten involved with, a mob. I kind of look around a little panicked. And the end result of that being me meeting this guy back here, I motion back to Dom.
I nod.
The also end result of that being I could no longer go back to my apartment or live on the place that I'd come to call a home. My voice kind of trails off.
Zach pipes up and he says, "So let me get this straight. What you really want to become is a world-class chef, but because of...
Peerless master. A peerless master of the craft.
Peerless master of the craft. That I can completely respect. I don't know what a mafia is, but it doesn't sound good.
It isn't.
That's debatable.
So because of your troubles with that, you decided, oh hey, let's just join a incredibly elite group of individuals fixing problems in the time-space continuum. As what? A lark? A part-time job?
There's a glint in Cor's eyes. Let's just say I had talents that particularly predisposed me to it, and say not a job shifting stuff around a mailroom.
Zach looks unimpressed, but he doesn't ask any other questions.
Charlotte raises an eyebrow and says, "So you're here because you feel that your talents were a perfect match for this. That sounds familiar."
I pick the spoon up off the ground, wipe it off on my coat, and return it to the pile of stew.
Jack visibly cringes.
I suppose it is my turn next. Very well. To provide a bit of history, I used to work as a hitman for the mob. It was my job to kill people. Cor helped in some situations. Largely he was the cleaner, the maid for the mob.
I sit up more straightly, kind of staring back at him. I flash him an evil eye.
Jack stares at the stew and ponders existence. And grows visibly worried.
After several incidents involving the mob, I began to question my line of work. Not its moral groundings, but rather my continued existence. It became more difficult as time went on. At this point, I saw an ad for the Corsairs. It became clear to me that I could earn more money if I joined the Corsairs. So, I considered this. I found this to be desirable. I knew they would not readily accept me if I attempted to join while still being a member of the mob. So I killed the head of the mob, and took him in, as an entry fee. And here I am.
Jack stares at Domhnall now, pondering life, growing visibly concerned.
Evelyn raises her hand.
Yes?
So... I just have a question about, more or less, you. You're not all human, but what are you... That sounds offensive. Is that offensive? I'm sorry if it's
I believe that
offensive.
some people would perceive that as offensive. However, I do not mind.
That sounds incredibly offensive.
I hold my hand up and kind of wave it back and forth with an motion. Not really. He's kind of used to it.
Evelyn is confused by the answer she's given, but decides to just work with it.
To be truthful, I do not know what my other part is. I have been trying to figure that out. On the
Oh.
side.
Do you have any memories of a family?
Only my mother.
Did she look the same?
She was human.
Oh.
Yes.
Oak flashes you a smile and says, I have looked around while under the scalpel. Does look a bit interesting down there.
I would be interested in hearing your opinion on my condition.
Gladly.
Jack glances over to Zack, pondering life, growing visibly concerned.
Zack looks back at Jack, also concerned, but in a different way. Charlotte suggested that this would help us understand each other and maybe meld together as a team. But in fact, the way Zack is looking at Jack reinforces that statement he said to him a few hours ago, which is, sometimes I think you and I are the only competent ones around here.
So to sum up, my job was to kill people, and I joined the Corsairs because I wanted money.
And it's not scary, Evelyn pipes in. It's really interesting. They told me about it.
Yes, on occasion we would bury bodies.
And
Regardless.
That's not scary either. she goes off.
Let's not reminisce about the old days. You're getting caught up in old memories, pal. I pat Dom on the shoulder.
You're right. We should live in the present. And in accordance with that, I have a question for you, Charlotte. Why did you become a Corsair? What of value do you find here?
That's a complicated question, I guess.
How so?
I hold my hand up again and then motion for her to continue on. Please go on.
The reason I became a Corsair was for glory.
Ah, personal gain.
Yes, I felt that I could make a name for myself, and like some of you, I felt I was well suited for the task. You have all been exceedingly honest with me, which I appreciate. I feel it is only right to be honest with you in return. The life of a Corsair is, well, not easy. Did you know Wansuk and I used to be on a Corsair squad together?
I did not.
We were considered one of the best. We were hired to track down a certain group of criminals on a jungle world that had stolen sensitive information from the Commonwealth. We landed on the planet, tracked them down, underestimated their abilities. We were ambushed. Didn't stand much chance. Everyone I knew, everyone I cared about, was mowed down, with the exception of Wansuk and I, who ran back to our ship, only to have it explode as we were going up the gangplank. That team of criminals hijacked our ship to explode while we were hunting them in the jungle. I don't remember much, but I do recall one soup with a piece of shrapnel in her spine, dragging me to the foliage where we hid like little children until they thought we were dead. I understand that some of you are here for money or research or to learn why we work or to become a good chef. Many Corsairs do not end well. So you should understand that if you choose to move forward.
I understand that well. And I must ask, though. You said that you joined the Corsairs for glory. Have you found it?
No. I changed my assessment. I'm now in the Corsairs for a different reason.
I see. And what might that be?
She points to the sleeping children in the corner. That one day my life and its sacrifice of it might be used to aid those who need it.
I do not understand.
You are here to take a test, but whatever your reasons for being here, whatever your cause, whatever your thoughts, whatever your motivations, if you do well, those children survive. That's why I am a Corsair. It's not everyone's reason, but it's a good enough reason for me.
To protect the weak.
She shakes her head. I hate that word. I'm sure those kids would be skilled at something you could never be good at. Simply better to say, protect those who deserve it.
How does one decide who deserves it?
I kind of put Dom in a headlock. Come on. You had a good moment, but now you're ruining it.
Zach can't help himself, and he asks Charlotte, though, and he says, I don't mean to disrespect what you're saying there, Charlotte, but I can't help thinking that our objective is to stop Maneater, yes? So I'm not saying we should do this, but what is to stop, say, a more pragmatic, cruel, or cold squad of Corsairs from using the children as bait to get to that target? Eliminate the target, time has been resolved, and in an even bigger picture, things are corrected, you know. A sacrifice the few to help the many.
It's not commonly talked about, but there are different types of Corsairs. There are those who hold to the true core values of the Corsairs tightly in a grip and would never break them for any reason. There are those who feel that sometimes the rules of a Corsair should be bent for the greater good. And there are those that would outright break them if they feel that it is needed to get the job done. There are many Corsairs out there, Zach, who feel that what you suggested is not only optimal, but necessary. I may not agree with them, but I am but one person. You, as a group, would have to decide what kind of Corsairs you want to be.
I don't understand. Zach says if you want it to be a certain way, why don't you just simply make it that way? Punish the Corsairs who go against the rules. I mean, that's the whole purpose of rules. Make sure people follow them. Zach says with way too much idealism.
Evelyn grows visibly worried, but says nothing.
Sometimes the spirit of what the rule is designed to protect is more important than the letter of the law. The difficulty is knowing which is which. To be more specific to your particular question, though, the Corsairs very harshly penalize those who are caught breaking the rules. However, we are in the past, thousands of miles and years away from Corsair High Command, and the only person who has any link to us whatsoever is, well, Wansuk. There is any number of rules that you could be breaking even now, and who would know? Not to give you ideas, we have been around for a long time, and it is not easy to fool us, but you get my point.
Well, speaking of our objective, Zach says maybe we should get into specifics of the general plan we've been mulling over.
Charlotte leans back, kind of done with the conversation, and starts eating whatever it was Core made her.
Oh, should I roll cooking?
It's delicious.
Sure.
Okay.
It's delicious.
Okay. You're going to say it's delicious no matter what.
Dom has weird taste buds.
Yeah, no, I test all my weird stuff out on you.
Yep.
Okay, I believe my cooking is now 60%, so,
Under 60.
I'm supposed to especially note if I took multiple ranks of the... Like, basically, you can feed multiple slots to the cooking skill, and if you do, you're supposed to note that the food is extraordinary. So, I am now noting that the food is extraordinary.
This tastes somewhat odd.
Because of what was said earlier, Jack is extremely reluctant and will wait until Zach has some first and see his opinion, because if you recall correctly, Domhnall? Yeah, no. Specifically, Domhnall said that Core, it was their cleaner. He got rid of bodies, and he's a chef.
Zach will take the food, no problem. He's been hungry. The adrenaline's gone down, and he'll notice his brother looking at him, and then Zach will simply kind of say, not overly loud, but not overly quiet either, and he'll say, "We already went through this. He doesn't mess with the food. When we were talking about maybe poisoning it, he was against it. So you got nothing to worry about. And it tastes pretty good." Zach says, almost regretting the compliment immediately.
I can test if there's any poison in it if you'd like.
You see Evelyn kind of turn around and start spitting out the food that's in her mouth.
Listen. He just said that Core used to get rid of bodies.
Get rid of bodies?
And he's a chef.
No, he was the maid.
Zach will roll his eyes. Do you see any dead bodies around
Yeah, I was about
here?
to say, I can see where the confusion's
No.
coming from a little bit. Hold on, I put up a hand. You said I was oh yeah, cleaner, like getting, oh, I got you. No, I literally cleaned
Yes.
for them. Like, vacuuming. I kind of make
The
a
maid.
vacuuming
Dusting.
motion. Dusting. I kept their headquarters nice and, like a maid, you said it, yeah, that was pretty spot on assessment. I look back over at Dom and nod.
I remember him saying you got rid of bodies.
On occasion, when he had a free moment to help me. It was not his primary job.
Those were bodies I was driving around, Dom. I kind of look at him, eyes partially narrowed.
Oh, yes, those were bodies.
I should have expected.
Should I have informed you?
I slap my forehead. No, to clarify, my job was I prefer the term butler, but yeah, I was pretty much a butler for the mob. I kind of scratched the side of my face.
Charlotte munching around the food, seeming completely unconcerned. Lucian, I think he's asking, do you put human bodies in your food?
Yeah, I got that implication, and I'm trying to dodge around that because, frankly, that's insulting to the chef. I say, looking Charlotte dead in the eye, right?
She shrugs.
Yeah, right.
Oak takes a bowlful, and while eating, says, "Death should have its meaning too," as he chews softly on the food.
Whatever he said, I agree with it.
Listen. Growing up in Alaska, we've had some weird stuff. I've eaten bear. I'm just not interested in having... You know what? Never mind.
Oh, bear's good. It's tough.
Never mind. Yes, it is.
Zach will look to Jack, and although he doesn't say anything, he secretly loves his brother even more for offending Lucian.
However, what he sees is Core, eyes partially narrowed, giving Jack a thumbs up at the mutual fact that they both tasted bear.
In fact, he says as he takes a bit of the stew and puts it into a container to get ready to eat. That's how I got this tattoo. One time.
From a bear.
From eating a bear.
From fighting a bear?
My brother and I, as he starts digging in, my brother and I and our father went and hunted a bear while we were growing up in Alaska. And after taking it down, a man...
Gave you a tattoo.
Let me finish.
Zach will look daggers at Domino.
I stare back.
A man who had been watching us and following us apparently came up with a rifle pointed at all of us and wanted us to leave to take our catch. This tattoo is to symbolize the nickname I had when we were up in Alaska. I was called the Sandman because I put him to sleep. That man who had a rifle at my family, I went up, broke his hand, and punched him once in the chest. And I put him to sleep. It stopped his heart.
Wait, he died?
Yes.
What's the point in putting him to sleep if you're just going to kill him?
I put him to sleep forever.
It's a euphemism. He's permanently sleeping.
And that story is one that our father was kind of proud of saying around the community, so name kind of stuck.
You have to understand, a lot of times it's kill or be killed, especially in situations like that.
Here, Charlotte. Not as impressive as a bear giving you a tattoo, but